Hello everybody and welcome back to the Siege Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, post your Siege related topic discussions and questions in the comment section below, and there's a chance I'll get into them in the next video. As always, if you're going to enjoy this video, be sure to drop it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe drop a comment since it does help with the algorithm, and it lets me know that you want videos like this. Without wasting any more of your time, let's get into the video. This first one is by Big Stick, and they say, Cav is debatably one of the worst defenders in the game. What if while in stealth mode, she could see the footprints of attackers the same way Jackal can see defenders footprints? She doesn't have Jackal's gadget, so she can't scan them. Instead, it will give her passive information she could use to infer attacker positions and give callouts to her team whilst roaming. For example, she sees footprints leading into a room, therefore she can tell an attacker is in that room. The amount of time the footprints linger in the environment could be changed to balance this new mechanic if needed. Well, I actually think that is a really great idea. I think that nails the purpose of Caveira. I think that reinforces her current playstyle and ability and what she is made to do. Sometimes you'll get really good concepts for operators, but it has really nothing to do with that operator, and despite it being a good idea, doesn't really make sense for that operator in hand. This makes a lot of sense for Caveira. It plays directly into her roaming playstyle, into her sort of hunting playstyle, and then of course you could finish it all off with the interrogation feature. Now, you say Caveira is debatably one of the worst defenders in the game. I totally agree with you, and I want people to understand when we say an operator is like the worst, or we say they're quite bad, it doesn't mean they're necessarily unusable. So if you're sitting right now and you say, I use Cav all the time, I get a lot of kills with her, perfectly fine, not saying you don't, but in the grand scheme of things in Rainbow Six Siege, there are other roamers and other defenders who simply just overshadow Caveira. So giving Caveira this new ability where she can see attacker footsteps would actually be really good. Like you said, this would only be when she has her silent step active, so it's not like she sees them at all times throughout the round. And I can think of many scenarios where this would be extremely good and just help Caveira succeed more. I like that you mentioned as well, since she doesn't have Jackal's Inox gadget, she can't track them and ping them to the rest of the team. It is only footprints which she is visibly going to have to follow with her own eyes and hope that she finds the enemy from it. Footprints have actually been something they've been playing around with quite recently, other than just being with Jackal, and that's something that they've done with the Frost rework. If you pull yourself out of a Frost map voluntarily by yourself, not if a teammate revives you out of it, if you pull yourself out of it, you get a debuff effect where you are limping and you cannot sprint. But as well as this, you leave a bloody footprint trail behind you for anyone to follow. So we could use a sort of similar concept to this, but obviously only Cav would be able to see it when she's using her silent step, and it could be more like faint, muddied footsteps, but definitely visible enough for her to see and follow, and I think that is a brilliant idea. Absolute hats off to you for that one. I really like that, and yeah, if they bring any changes to Cav in the future, I would 100% want it to be this one. Absolutely great concept. I love that. I've had this question asked a few times, but the one by Freakiest Gus says, I don't know if you've already done this, but I think knife skins would be really good. For example, there could be a katana for the Rengoku event. And don't get me wrong, I definitely think knife skins would be a really cool thing in Rainbow Six Siege. We've only seen like a few variations of the knife. Of course, you have the default knife, which every single operator has. You've also got Zero, Sam Fisher. He has a unique knife. He actually has a karambit, and it even has like a different icon when you kill someone in the kill feed, which is pretty cool. Of course, it works the exact same as any other knife, but that's irregardless of the point. The other person who has a unique knife is Azami. She has her kunai knife. Of course, that is not only her gadget, but she also keeps a non-gadget version in her pocket to actually stab. So yes, adding more unique knives, adding skins for them and everything would 100% be a really cool thing. But the issue is, what situations would you really even need a knife skin? Because how often are you meleeing? I guess that doesn't really matter for a lot of people. I still think even in its current form, for how little you do see a melee, people will still happily buy a knife skins, for example. Maybe they could go down the route of CSGO where you could put all your weapons away and only have your melee weapon out. I guess that could be a thing as well. But I'm honestly going to give a genuine answer here, and it's like, I don't see like a future where even if they did add knife customization, that like Ubisoft would really even add much to it. Because a big thing which has been in the game for such a while now and they've hardly utilized is gadget skin customization. When I saw that they were, you know, splitting up elite skins and making everything a lot more customizable, which was one of my most asked for things, I was beyond happy, and they've done a great job. They delivered on that. They added elite elite skin customization. They've done a lot of very good stuff with that. But then I also thought, okay, this opens a door for them to sell gadget skins and MVP animations outside of elite skins. A little while after the release of this new system, you know, splitting up elite skins and having each of the stuff customizable, there was a Christmas event coming, and I was like, oh cool, I imagine the MVP animation where you throw a snowball at the camera will become, you know, customizable, and it's something you can maybe buy in the packs and something you can buy separately, and it's just something on top of all the skins, weapon skins, charms and everything that we as players can now buy and we can equip to our operators. I opened the pack collection, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very disappointed to see that the MVP animation from the event wasn't a thing that you could buy and universally equip to your operators if you wanted to. But I then thought, okay, this is a new system, maybe they'll implement it further down the line and they'll start to do it with more pack collections in the future since stuff is made in advance. And here we are, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years after that system's been implemented. Maybe I'm overestimating it a bit. But, you know, it's been a good amount of years since this system was implemented, and we have absolutely no gadget customization outside of elite skins. You have no MVP animations outside of elite skins, which I do find as a really missed opportunity, especially when I think you can do really fun things with gadget customization, especially. For example, something that I always post on Twitter every year saying that they should do is a sledgehammer gadget skin based on whoever wins the Siege Invitational for that year, since the trophy for the Siege Invitational is the sledgehammer. So for example, last SI was won by W7M. It would be really cool to make a W7M themed sledgehammer skin for us to all buy in the game. Or if you have a battle pass, for example, you could put gadget skins in it. So I necessarily am not against knife customization in Rainbow Six Siege. I just honestly, and I don't want to sound mean, I just don't believe Ubisoft would actually do anything with it. The only thing that they have sort of taken and ran with is player card customization, which I do really enjoy. I think it is really fun. It sort of reminds me of like a little trading card sort of thing, so I kind of like it in that sense. But even half the time, the ones in the battle pass are really low quality, so they're kind of unusable anyway. So whether that's due to just a lack of funding to the cosmetic team and they have to prioritize skins over other stuff, I understand in that sense. I'm not blaming the individuals, but I definitely think if Ubisoft want to, you know, microtransaction the game even more, which is what you've got to do, I guess, to keep the game profitable. It is a business at the end of the day. Then we should start putting efforts into stuff that people are going to pay for, like really cool gadget skins, really cool MVP animations and stuff like that. And in your case, knife skin customization. So fun answer, I think it'd be really cool. Boring answer, I don't think Ubisoft have the resources to do it, and I don't think they will commit to making it a consistent thing like we'd want it to be. This next one asks, what do you think about mirrors in Siege as a secondary gadget? Easily destroyable, but also works both ways. So I assume this would probably work best as a defender secondary gadget, and it's like a little mirror that you can place on corners and in rooms, for example. Let's say if you're on top floor Oregon, you could place one in the corner top white, and you can actually look into this mirror and see if anyone is walking up the stairs. Now, the downside to this is anyone walking up the stairs can also look into that mirror and see you holding them, let's say from kid's door. Concept wise, I absolutely love the idea. I think this definitely has a place in Siege, and I would absolutely love this to come to the defending side. Again, just like with the last question, I hate to have a boring answer as well, but I genuinely think a consistent, true reflection around corners like this is something which is really demanding, and I genuinely just think that like engine limitations wouldn't allow you to have a mirror which is large enough for you to see from a distance whilst also reflecting a true good vision of what is on that other side. Maybe there's ways that they could work around this. Maybe, I don't know, it gets treated like a camera in a sense and that's how it works. But I'm not a game developer, but as far as I'm aware, having a large mirror perfectly reflecting of what's happening at a certain degree angle from where you're viewing it and stuff like that is just extremely mechanically demanding. But I could be completely wrong, and if this is something which is possible to be made, I would absolutely love it. But as far as I'm aware, I just don't think this is viable, at least at this current point. This next one is by John Dinkelheimer, and they say, considering that we're only getting one new operator a season now, I feel like we'll be seeing more operator reworks in the future. Maybe Tachanka will get a second. Most people say that they switched to making one operator a year because they're lazy. I assume you meant per season, not per year, but continuing on. But I believe they're doing this in order to prolong the lifespan of the game. They'll run out of operator ability ideas at some point. Will they necessarily run out of operator ideas? I'm not really sure. The reason why they went down to one operator per season, They did say it was to focus on other aspects of the game. Do I think that that necessarily happened, or did I think the overall health of the game improved? In some aspects, yes. I don't think it was a be-all and end-all of issues in the game, but you also just have to remember that this is just a completely different era of Siege in its development. It has led to some operators that were never able to be made before. For example, Scopos. It has been publicly stated that Scopos was an operator who was actually conceptualized about back in year 5. It's been an operator who's already been, planned, and they tested with it and stuff like that. And it was so mechanically demanding time-wise that they just simply didn't have enough time to make an operator like that. However, with the current format and development cycle of operators, they actually had the time to focus a lot of resources into making an operator like Scopos. And we start to get some really unique gadgets like her. Now, from my perspective, of course I would love a new map every season. Of course I would like 2 new operators every season. But you also have to understand at the end of the day, it's not necessarily the quantity of what we get, it should be the quality which we focus on. We did used to get a brand new map every season, but then all those maps have since been reworked since people deemed them not very good. And then more time and care was put into reworking them and improving them to the point where we're at now. I see some people complain that we used to get some operator reworks alongside a new operator, and now reworks are being dedicated to an entire season by themselves. But you take a look at Tachanka's rework, for example, and Goyo's rework where they removed the shield. Those operators took so long to release with no end date in sight. Like, I remember that the Tachanka rework was announced and we just didn't hear anything for so long, and they never gave us a date of when it was going to release. And then it was like, oh, it might come out this time. There was some rumors, blah, blah, blah. There was a lot of confusion about when it was going to come out, and there was a lot of uncertainty. But then we take a look at Blackbeard's rework slash remaster, and he's had an entire season dedicated to him. He launched on their schedule, although the season did have some bugs. As a full new operator rework, Blackbeard is by all means a success. So it definitely doesn't come down to how much resources I guess Ubisoft are getting, although I would appreciate more from the sounds of it sometimes. It's what they do with the resources they are given. It should always be quality over quantity. And I would say in terms of year 9, New Blood was pretty much a new low, but they acknowledged that. They said that isn't going to be an issue in the future, and I definitely think for that being the first sort of quote-unquote remaster season with the recruits, it was very weak. However, Ubisoft did redeem themselves with Blackbeard, and I think if we are going to get more remaster focused seasons in year 10, for example, if they do have the same love that Blackbeard has received, then I personally don't see a major issue with it. By all means, if the quality is not there, we should raise our voices and say that this isn't good enough. But to me, in all honesty, I'm actually fine with the fact that this season, Blackbeard replaced what could potentially have been a new operator, because I really like what they've done with the Blackbeard rework, and I think there was a lot of effort and quality put into it. So to answer the original question, it isn't laziness, it's more of a resource management thing. I personally, if I was in charge of Ubisoft, I would give the Rainbow Six team way more resources. It doesn't necessarily come down to the individual developers not wanting to make 2 operators in a season, for example. If you don't have that structure for that, if you don't have the planning in place for that, if you don't have all these aspects which is required to make 2 operators in a season, then they simply cannot do that. I've had the opportunity to meet so many of these devs in person, and I can genuinely tell you that they do care about the game. They will happily talk your ear off about how much they love the game and how passionate they are to work on it and how excited they are to work on it. And it is quite hard sometimes to sort of distinguish this large publisher developer Ubisoft compared to its individual developers, especially with some of the stuff you hear about Ubisoft doing and a lot of mishaps they've had with games recently, with like X-Defiant shutting down and all the issues you hear. But what I can honestly tell you is that the people who work on this game do care, and I'm sure if us, for example, would want 2 operators in a map per season, they would also want 2 operators in a map per season if it could be done. So it's not necessarily laziness, it's just simple resource management, and at the end of the day, they can only make what they have time to make and the resources to make. This next one is by SharkDog, and they say, what do you think of a stim shot as a secondary gadget on attack and would heal you or your team and give a little speed boost? Now, this is riffing off my last mailbox video where I said I don't see how attack would have another healer because I feel like Finka would just always be better than any other healing attack operator. I understand that you're implying a new way of having like a stim based one like Doc, for example, but you would also get a speed boost, which is something which Finka doesn't provide. Which, I mean, kudos for you for like thinking outside the box and trying trying to differentiate an attacker and healer from thinker. But if their only sort of gimmick outside of healing is a speed boost, does that really benefit the game that much? I mean, you know, rushing is a playstyle which you can't get rid of, you know. I'm not saying that rushing's even necessarily a bad thing. If you see a gap in the enemy's defense, by all means, it is your duty to exploit that and take control of that gap. But having a secondary gadget, like in Rainbow Six Extraction, where it gives you a Stim speed boost, I just don't really see how that would fit into playstyle in which Siege is balanced around, because like I'm saying, rushing is a thing, but they don't necessarily balance around the fact of, oh, this is going to assist you in a rush, because having a secondary gadget, which would have to then be picked over claymores, grenade, hard breach charge, breaching charge, etc., which a large portion of that secondary gadget is for a speed boost, that kind of promotes the wrong playstyle, shall I say, which a lot of people really misunderstand me when I talk about stuff like this, because they think like, oh, I want everything to be super slow and I don't think you should rush and stuff like that. That's not the case. But at the end of the day, the game should never be balanced around rushing. Rushing is something there should be consequences for. Rushing should be something where you have to somewhat earn it as well, and it has to be a genuine mistake from the enemy team. Rushing shouldn't be something that you get given a secondary gadget for to enhance your speed so you can run into sight faster. Again, I don't want to dookie on your idea because it's not even a bad idea by any means necessary. I just think having a secondary gadget that would not only heal you but give you a speed boost on attack promotes an incorrect playstyle. If an Ashe wants to run into sight and wants to have some healing benefits from that, then you should make the conscious decision as a team to then bring a thinker to assist that playstyle, rather than having, like, I don't know, maybe she wouldn't even have it as a secondary, but, you know, just pretend that she does. Having that would, or having a teammate bring that, for example, I just think it promotes just wrong playstyle. I know I've repeated myself like 7 times there, but I don't know. I just don't think it is something that truly benefits the attack, and is personally just too TDM leading, but it's not a bad idea at all. This next one says, what if Sledge can break reinforced walls with Maverick? First, Mav has to make the torch lines in the edges of a reinforced wall, then those lines have to meet, then Sledge can destroy it with ease. Now, I wanted to include this one because I don't know if you're aware, but this is pretty much already a thing in the game. There's something known as a Maverick trick, and that is when you make a line at the top of the reinforcement from left to right with a Maverick torch, and then you do the same at the bottom. The area between these two lines would completely destroy the reinforced wall which is there. Then you're just left with the soft wall on the other side, and an operator like Sledge or Zofia or any, you know, breaching capability can then open up the soft wall. So unless I'm misunderstanding what you're proposing, this is already a thing in the game right now. A Sledge and a Maverick can together open a wall. I guess in a sense you could, you know, streamline the process a little better, and if those Mav holes are already there in place, he doesn't have to necessarily finish the trick, and Sledge can just like finish it off, but it doesn't sound like that's worth the development time for something you can already do anyway. This final question says, should Ubisoft open up some sort of mailbox for people to send in full-fledged operator ideas? And I don't know if they maybe have like the time or resources to have their own mailbox, but what I will say is, comment them on my video, comment them on Twitter, make Twitter posts about it and stuff like that. Ubisoft do look at social medias. There is people and devs who watch my videos, other content creator videos, and they also look through social media about Rainbow Six Siege related stuff as well. That's why I enjoy making this series. I, as a content creator, do have some reach when I make videos like this. So if you genuinely have a good idea and you post it in the comments, I would like to talk about it, because there is a pretty good chance that someone who works on the game may hear about your little idea. That is what I wanted to do with this series to begin with anyway, was to give the community a bit of a voice and a bit of a platform to share their ideas, because everyone has ideas, I have ideas, I make my own videos about my ideas, and I know not a lot of people use Twitter, not a lot of people have the capabilities to make a YouTube video, and there's a lot of great ideas out there, as I've seen by making a bunch of these mailbox videos now, is that a lot of people have a really good amount of ideas to share. So genuinely, if you want your concepts and your ideas to be heard by Ubisoft, comment them on my video, share it with other content creators as well. At the end of the day, not only do I make my own content, but I'm also here to be a voice for the community. So use that comment section to your advantage and let me know your operator ideas. And so everyone, that is going to do it for this episode of the Siege Mailbox. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Drop some comments for the next one. Doesn't matter if you think it's stupid, it could be a great idea, or we could riff off of it and find some really new interesting angles. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy, subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you all later. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.